You brought another question to mind. Was it one person who carved these writings, or more than one?
We think there are two.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I did some compares between the same symbols that's repeated from the right and the left wall, and you can feel a sense of like a difference between this hand and that hand.
Because
When
of the
writing the
carvings.
symbol, it's the same lines, but you can tell the difference between like two different hands.
A
From
different
the-
style of handwriting,
Of
basically.
handwriting, exactly.
But do
Yeah,
you feel
very
it's from
li-
the same time period?
It is.
Yes, we
Okay.
feel it
They
at the
were
same
both
time.
written at the same time, and the names of the two persons who did the writings actually.
Fantastic.
This one here, I want to say something about it. If you bring it, maximize it a little bit. The one that say we're here as the great one, you see the character of the man here is in the same size of the two symbols. Where the character of the man, which is like the code is A1. If you bring it in the Gosford, come a little bit to the right, please. You see, he made it small. This one can be actually a symbol that he forgot to add, and he had to stick it in between, because the word "were" alone can mean great, but when he have to add the character of the man to be talking about the great one, the chief, it actually means the ruler of a foreign country. This is what the "were" here means. If you add to it the symbol that's coded with A1.
And it looks like he squeezed it
Yeah.
right in there
Yeah,
between the two.
yeah. So this is
Yeah.
this is like
Also, to show you how difficult we face translating this, some words or some symbols are very similar. I find that the two words are very similar, except that the last part, if we escape the last part, we can find that the first symbol similar to the second, the first here, the second here is the same to the second here, the word "were" is the same, and the man are very similar, except this is stretching his hand and the second is putting his hand in his mouth. Okay, so in the beginning I thought both are the same, but again, as I keep saying, we need to keep looking all the time, keep looking. Actually, this is me and Yusuf, it became like in our dreams also. We
just
we
close your eyes and you'll
Yeah.
see what's for the.
Okay.
This is a good example of what you've talked about, though, with the two different hand
Yeah.
scripts, because you can see the bird and the
Exactly.
It's different.
This
Symbol
one is from the
underneath
right wall and this one is from the left
two
wall.
totally different styles.
But they're both well aware of the ancient
The
language.
language.
This is
It's obvious.
So after looking deeply in the first picture, I recognized that there is a stroke next to the symbol we said H. Okay, the other word doesn't have that stroke. Okay, also the shape of the first letter, we call it S, is longer from the top more than the other first symbol. Okay, and by using the dictionary to understand the whole word, not just individual symbols, I understood that the first word or the first picture, it is a combination of words, not just one word like the second picture. The second picture is just one word. The whole symbols are one word. But the first picture are representing a whole sentences. We can count one word, 2, 3, 4. 4 words. And as you can see, it means the ruler. And that ruler means the ruler of the expedition.
yeah.
Okay? Not the ruler of
Egyptian
Egypt.
side. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
The maybe the captain,
The
or
captain,
the
yes.
but I don't think the captain, the one, the royal relative, maybe a prince, maybe a high priest, maybe army leader, the one who was the ruler of this expedition, and he is with the great man of this land. And great man can mean the ruler of the land, the foreign land, or the chief, as we understand. Okay,
And
so
they call this land Benu land.
they call it Benu. Yes, the word, we can see this sign like a mountain shape. This means foreign land. Okay,
Okay.
and the square and the jar above, that means Benu.
This Does that
So-
have a meaning?
So
This is the name of the land.
this is the
It's
name.
only okay.
Yes.
The name of the land.
It's okay.
It's not necessarily to have meanings for everything.
Okay.
Okay, but we can read it as Benu land. Okay,
So
so it means the chief, and this sentences still have another part. Okay, we're going to translate it later, but they still have a part. Okay, but it says that the ruler and the chief of Benu land, having what we're going to explain later. Okay,
Great. Awesome.
but this is just a quick example about how we suffer reading the glyphs. It wasn't easy to figure out the symbols and to figure out the sentences.
yeah, when you're translating normal text from the tombs or the temples, you know, you see clearly where the word ends and begins and where is the lines. But in this case, it was like
It was
really
like-
a challenge.
yeah.
But it was like actually translating Rosetta Stone once again.
Okay, so you've told us that you've put most of your focus on the translation on the right wall.
Mhm.
So what is the scribe that wrote on the right wall trying to tell us?
That's a good question, and we had prepared a good answer for this. We're going to tell you two information about this. First, the name of one of the names who wrote those glyphs, and what is his profession. If we can look to the screen. So if we look to this picture, we can see in that oval shape, we can read Nej Sobit. Nej Sobit. So if you ask about the meaning, maybe the meaning is not quite clear, but we can read it Nej Sobit. This is one of the ancient Egyptian people who went to Australia, and he wrote the Gosford Glyphs. With another one, we're going to also see his name after this. What is the profession of Nej Sobit? He was a sailor. How we know the sailor? From the two clear symbols about the ship with a big sail and the verb sailing. Those two symbols together are representing the word sailor. So his profession was a sailor, and his name was Nej Sobit. The other name we will find called Nefer Sobit.
Now, the first one is written on the right wall, and the second one is written on the left wall.
No,
Is that correct?
they're
Both
both
the
on
same.
the high
Mhm.
part of the right wall.
Okay.
This is the
They are
continuance of
behind
the-
each other. Look, that picture on the left side, you can
This
see.
is the high right wall.
Can you see this symbol?
Yes.
This is the same here.
Okay, so they're right next to each
Again,
other.
yes.
Yes, the
Okay.
higher
Yeah.
part of the right wall.
Okay.
And why is one in a box and one in what looks like a cartouche on its side?
This is their own style.
It's sort of like their handwriting?
Yeah, mhm.
Okay.
It's not,
Okay.
it's not a problem. Both styles existed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Both
This is we
acceptable.
call it cartouche. This is serch or
Okay.
serch. Okay. So the second name we can read in this subject, we can read Nefer Sobit. Here is Nefer, and there the three symbols representing Sobit are very similar to the first name, also Sobit here, but he used different shape of letter S here. And the two shapes are accepted, and they are listed in the lists of the sign.
What
Okay.
does Sobit mean?
Sobit, it means a star. Which star? Sirius star. Because Sirius star was very important in the Egyptian civilization, and they used to use the appearance of Sirius star in our sky to be as a beginning of the Egyptian New Year. As a beginning of the flood season. So when they see Sirius in the sky, it means that the flood is going to come within a week. or
Marking
less.
a time of
Yeah.
great fertility and
Exactly.
abundance.
Mhm. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Now, the fact that they both had this Sobet in their names, would that imply that they were both part of this? Maybe it was a label for their expedition.
I think so. I think that the ancient Egyptians, they used to label their work like the famous cartouche inside the Egyptian, inside the Great Pyramid, called Friends of Cheops, and we think that was a label also. It wasn't just a group of people or 2-3 people. They like Cheops, and they call themselves Friends of Cheops. It was a label for a certain group of workers maybe, and they put that label. So I think the word Sobit was a label for all the sailors. in that boat.
Identifying their
Yeah.
group.
Yeah.
Okay.
Especially knowing that the sailors need stars to navigate.
Of course.
Yeah. So I promised you to give you names and professions. So we understood about the first one. What about the second one? We understand his name is Nefer Sobed. What is his profession? He was the chief of the sailors. We can say Nisu Rinu. The combination of the two words means the chief of, or exactly the ruler of the sailors. In another word, it means the chief of the sailors.
Or the captain of
Or
the
the
ship.
captain of the ship. Yes. Okay. Now we will show you some examples of sentences, some short and some big. We're going to show you the same, or the picture relating to the first person, Nej Sobit, the sailor. He said, I did write. The first example, the eye and the mouth shape means did, and that is the scribe, we saw it in a later picture, or the verb write, and niti means Zeus or this or that, and neter midut mean the holy words. So he said, I did, or I made,
I
or
did
I
write
did
these
write
holy
these
words.
holy words,
Yes.
or divine words. Okay? And what are the divine words? The rest of the words. Why divine? Not because this is like our modern word Bible or Quran, no. Because the ancient Egyptians were very proud of their language, and they considered their language as a language descended from the sky. So it is divine in any time, in anywhere.
So this is the entire right wall that you will be translating.
Yes.
The lower right wall.
Lower right wall.
Lower
Yes,
side.
because the beginning was the higher right wall. This is
Okay.
the lower side of the lower part of the right wall, or the lower side.
Okay, so the beginning was telling the name.
Yes, the
names.
representation of those who wrote and did.
Okay, and this is
Yeah.
actually what they wrote.
This is the story. This is
This
why
is-
when we translated this, me and Muhammad, we found out that this part of the story is the most important because it tells us what happened.
The beginning of the story, at
Yes,
least the
and the
beginning.
other parts of the right wall also is going to tell what is this.
The rest of the story.
The rest of
Okay.
what happened.
So let's go.
So
Okay.
this was not originally lined like this. So the lines were like with an angle and stuff like that. But you know, I
If
cut
you,
all
if
the.
you look here carefully,
Yeah.
we made some changes.
Now, would the shape of the rock and its indentations have an effect on how they could do straight?
I
Sure,
think
sure.
it's not that, but I think it's because he carved this without writing it.
Okay,
Mhm.
That's why it gave it this shape.
right.
It will happen with you, even if you are trying to carve English.
Oh,
That you can write
absolutely.
it very well. Try to carve it on a stone, and you will see how.
But
it
of course,
comes.
use of writing on a flat wall is much easier than writing from a mountain shape with bumps, maybe.
Of course, it made
Yeah.
Yeah, the rock obviously has a texture to it, so that
Yes.
even that adds to the complexity.
Okay, so let's read the first line. Okay,
Yeah.
this is the picture of the first line, as you can see in the bottom, and that is the symbols we figure out. So it says حكا حنا ور بنو خبر نفر عجاب. What does it mean? The first symbol حكات means ruler, and as we explained, it is the ruler of the Egyptian side. And this is the word حنا means end, and this is ور. The two symbols of ور by themselves only, it means great. But who is great, or great what? So if you add this symbol, so it means the great one, but not any great one. The great one of the foreign land. Okay? So the ruler and the great one, or it can be the great chief of the foreign land. Which foreign land? Punt, or maybe like in Babylon, or Iraq, or what? No, they put the name for that foreign land, Binu. Okay, so the name of that area were given by the ancient Egyptians, and that name was Binu. Again, the ruler and the chief of the foreign land Binu. The word Khibr here means exist. That is the official name of the former name, exist. And nefer means zero. So we say it has no deception. The ruler and the chief of the foreign land, Binu, have no deception.
So we're looking at a whole sentence.
Exactly.
It's beautiful.
Have no deception, in another way, it means have no conflict between each other.
Exactly.
Their relation is an honest relation. Maybe it's a trade relation. They are selling something and the Egyptians are buying or trading with each other. So they are saying that they are having honest deals with each other.
So the ruler could mean the captain of the expedition
Yeah.
and the chief of the foreign land, Australia, or what
Look,
they named Benu.
according to my information, no. The ruler here doesn't mean the captain himself. It means the ruler of that expedition.
That's okay.
We can have two positions now, okay? The captain of the sailors, the ship, and the chief of the whole expedition.
So there could be many ships.
It could be many ships, yes. It's
Okay.
not one.
Could be many
okay?
ships, but there will
Okay.
be one official, one priest, one high official from Egypt that will be the ruler of this.
And he would
Yeah.
be
Fleet.
with the expedition or back in Egypt?
No, it must be
No,
with the
Must be with,
expedition.
okay, I just wanted to
Yeah.
make
And,
that clear.
yeah, and most of the cases from the Egyptian history, he is one of the princes of the kingdom.
Okay,
Okay.
so he would be royal?
Yes, I believe like 90% who would be a royal person.
Royal here is not
Royal,
far from
yeah.
the temple.
But we still have like an ambassador, we still have merchants, we still have maybe a doctor. So that is all under the bigger,
But
or the higher
one leader
responsibility,
of the
leader.
entire expedition?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The leader makes, more sense to me
Uh-huh.
than ruler, but,
Leader, yeah.
okay,
But the Egyptian tried to, this is our own terms.
right.
But we are talking about their own terms
Okay.
at that time. Okay?
So the leader of the expedition and the
Mhm.
chief of the foreign land, Penu,
Mhm.
have no conflict or
no conflict.
deception between each other.
Mhm.
There's no deceiving
Yeah.
of each other.
And this
No
reminds,
deceiving, no crime, no
Mhm.
guilt.
Yeah, an honest
All-
relationship.
Exactly. This is what it means. They have an honest relationship. This is the second sentence, and in my opinion, this tells the most interesting part of this story. To turn back, like in the way back
To go back to
Egypt.
to go back, yes.
Yes. This is how the glyphs were written. You don't put like "the" or "in" or stuff like that.
Mhm.
But even professional in translations, when they translate, they add the rest of the stuff so they connect the symbols.
Mhm.
So what symbols do we see here? To return back, rainstorm, wind, turn around, captain, south of. This is exactly the symbols here, which you can understand in the story. To return back to Egypt, they faced rainstorm and wind that they had to turn around. The captain had to turn around southern of or south of
below.
to back to the land of Pinu, or return back or turn around to Australia. So they were to turn back here means to turn back to the homeland.
To go back or return to Egypt.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes.
They
exactly.
finished their
Yeah, they were
expedition
going
and
back.
going back home.
Yes. Then they faced
Mhm.
rainstorm, wind that forced the captain to turn around
Turn the ships around
Yes.
and head back to
Southern.
Australia
Yes.
or Benue.
southern. They
Mhm.
took it. They
And-
say it.
Yes.
So this is showing what happened, because this will have important meaning and why this site was made.
So what happened after, or now we know the circumstances they met during their return back to Egypt, their trip back to Egypt. But they faced rainstorm and strong wind forced them to turn the ships back to the same place they started their trip from, which is Benu land. So what happened to the ships? I don't know if the sentence saying here that the ship was upside down, turned
Okay, just a
upside
second,
down.
just a
Mhm.
second. What would you do if you are a sailor and you're facing a rainstorm and wind and you're in the middle of the ocean? feel that there is a disaster about to happen, what
Exactly.
would you do?
Praying to
You
the
would
god.
pray.
And this is the Egyptian way, actually.
Yeah.
Maybe other countries or other people are using this, but this is a very popular Egyptian style. Immediately when they face something wrong or dangerous, they always raise their hand. Even Muslims, Christians, and Jews, that is Egyptian tradition. They always pray to the god to help them during this kind of disaster or problem.
And worshipping or praise is assembled by that star. You see the star in the beginning, we're reading the sentence from
the
left
left
to
side.
right.
Mhm.
Yes. And
Okay.
then,
So,
okay, go ahead.
so this is the word worship or connecting with the sky. And then the upside down boat. Okay. Actually, we tried to discover that symbol. We couldn't understand in the beginning, but again, after deeper research and looking, we discovered that the two symbols in the right and the left side are representing oars, and the one in the middle could be the main
The mast for the sail.
for the sails.
Yes.
Exactly. Okay, and this is the ship itself upside down.
Capsized.
Yeah. Okay. And we can read it that the ship, because of the strong wind, became upside down. Okay. And we can see the word shad here. Shad means to fill or divide or to cut in pieces. So this is what happened to the boat. The boat dismantled. And we believe that so many people died in that accident. Okay. And that's why if the story is talking about perils, this is a good reason for that because of that rainstorm and that disaster, so many people, so many sailors died. So again here they say that the ship,
Shad here, if it didn't mean that the boat fell apart, it can means to fail, which means that when the boat already went upside down, the ship turned upside down, and then to fail here means to fall also very hard, like a fatal falling. This is what to fail means, to be knocked down dead.
and lost balance.
Yes, and this of course will be the result from losing the balance when the ship was being turned upside.
We can see in the fourth line, he is trying to give us an idea about what happened after the disaster. Okay, so he skipped that part. He gave us 2 lines explaining what happened and the result of that, and then he will tell us when they stayed in Binuland what happened. So it's saying Hemneter, Horus or Her F, Nej, Ridi, Gerah, Hernebu, or Usir Hernebu. Okay, so now we can see that he started with the two words Neter Hem or Hem Neter. He is trying to connect himself to his god Horus. That's why he is giving himself the title Hem Neter, means the servant of the god or God's servant, Horus. So he's saying that he was protected by Horus. Horus protected him by light during the dark moment. Then he addressed or he used other powerful meaning for Horus, that he said that Horus, the power or the powerful precious Horus in the end, to show the powers of Horus.
To show his gratitude, I think,
exactly.
for his mercy in
Exactly.
protecting him in these
The
dark
title
moments.
showing gratitude.
Very good.
That's
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay. So again, he linked himself.
Okay.
He linked himself with his god Horus by having the title Neter Hem, means the servant of god Horus, and then he described that Horus protected him by light during the dark moment, and a kind of gratitude from that person to Horus. He used the famous title for Horus, which is powerful precious Horus, Usir Nebu Hor.
Okay. We look at this sentence. This is the following sentence, and it reads like the symbols means as we put it, just like that, and then we'll understand the meaning. God, keeper, reach hidden burial, give foreign land, pin heritage, which means God will keep the hidden burial from being reached. This is what it means.
Protection.
Yes. So this is now we're getting to what was this site is about. This site was being prepared for a burial for those who died in this accident of the ship. And of course we know the ancient Egyptian tradition of how they must make a burial. It was something sacred, and they have to put the text to
To protect or to ensure that the soul is going to go to the second life safe.
yes.
Yeah.
So
this was essential, especially they are not in Egypt. They are outside Egypt. They must add some writings like they do in Egypt to be like a sacred spell to the,
Right.
to the soul to pass through the second journey.
So the
Yeah.
first part was explaining what happened, and now we're moving into the burial rites of
Exactly.
the
this
deceased.
is
Yeah.
what happened. The story was being told to say what caused death,
Right.
Mhm.
and now he's starting to put the text to the dead.
Funeral text.
Funeral
Funeral
text.
text,
So
yes.
what we're looking at now will be funeral text.
Yes, this one and the rest actually. So we brought the most important from it, the beginning of the story, what happened,
Mhm.
and then all the rest is about burial. All the rest of what's on the right wall, we're not done with the left wall yet. But as we said, the God will keep the hidden burial from being reached, give pin the foreign land the heritage, because this land inherited these people, inherited their bodies and their resurrection, part of the ancient Egyptian belief.
Okay.
This is the most clear sentence that shows why did they do this writings? Why did they repair this place? It was being used as a burial. We can understand this clearly. The eternal life to the deceased will be given power in this place. Will be given power in this way, in this situation that he's like.
Which is this.
Yeah, which is this. Exactly. So this one clearly defines that these writings, also the story, was a representation to tell us about what happened, what was the cause of death, which is the accident of the ship. And then this is one of the most famous funeral texts that, since we saw it in the beginning, we understood that this was made to become a burial.
Because that was very important to the ancient Egyptians, the first and the second life. So during the first life, they prepare themselves to the second life. But in this case, he is outside the country. There is no preparation. There is no professional priests to help him. So he had to help himself. That's why the formula, maybe it's not similar to the usual formulas, but at least he gave us the meaning referring to this, that he is wishing the deceased eternal life in the second life. The same like what we have, the famous formula, Di an Hijjat, like the one we saw before. And then he is wishing the deceased also to receive power in this situation, in this case of this, and where to receive this, in that land he was buried there, which is the place they
Now
went
you're
to.
referring to a he, so you're assuming this is one burial?
It could be one or more. So because he is saying here the deceased number 1, deceased number 2, number 3. He doesn't give a name for the deceased. He is giving the title or the.
Now, with common burial practices,
Mhm.
did they normally bury regular sailors? Did they do funeral texts for just the average sailor? Did they do mass burials, or did they do singular burials? How would the burials be accomplished?
Both exist, single and the mass burials.
Okay,
There is the tombs of the workers, as they call it.
exactly.
The new discovery here near the Giza Plateau is a mass burial.
Yes.
And we have seen, like also other burials that was used for more than one person in the Valley of the Kings.
And
It was
then
reused.
one issue of funeral text
Mhm.
would cover all the burials?
No, maybe the situation is different because
Yeah.
in Egypt, inside Egypt, maybe they have the time and they have the ability to do single project for each
Yeah.
one, maybe
Right.
all in one place, but still each one receiving a kind of individual story or vision. But I think that was impossible in this case because the sources and the ability, maybe time wasn't enough to do individual work for each one.
Right.
That's why I think he had a kind of one thing fit with all of them.
One story, yeah, one story.
One
fits all.
story, one
There's
funeral
no way
text.
to prove that, but that's a feeling if you have a capsized boat that there was more than one deceased.
Of course.
Right. Okay, we still haven't, although we talked a little bit about the dating of these glyphs,
Mhm.
we still haven't talked about the specific time frame.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, from the first look, if we are not using deep research, we're going to say because we found two cartouches, one for King Khufu and one for King Senefru. So we may date the glyphs to the 4th dynasty, the time of the 4th dynasty from ancient Egypt. Okay, the time of Khufu, of course, not the time of Senefru because Khufu is written. Okay, but if we understand that Khufu, especially Khufu, his name was lasted till the 26th dynasty, the end of the Egyptian, almost the end of the ancient Egyptian time.
You're saying that you had seen his name written
Exactly.
over and over again up until the 20th.
Not only his name, but the only statue we found for King Khufu, the only statue having his name, is made by someone from the 26th dynasty. So if you visit the Egyptian Museum in Cairo, the Old Kingdom section, you're going to see a statue with the label saying King Khufu or Cheops. That statue was found was found from the time, or it was made from the time of the 26th dynasty, not the 4th dynasty itself.
And that was
Okay.
found in Abydos, wasn't it?
And that was found in Abydos, in one of the
Yeah.
tombs relating to the 26th dynasty.
Okay.
It is 7 centimeters statue. So we can say that the name Khufu became a label later. So it's not necessarily if we find the name Khufu, it means this is the time of Khufu.
Yeah.
No, it can be after Khufu time. And this is the clear evidence we used about the statue of Khufu himself.
Mhm.
Okay?
Yeah, even without like looking at the Gosford Glyphs, here, when we find the name Khufu is being written over and over and over again until 300 BC, it was being still written. And the official explanation for this is that the priesthood of the Great Pyramid, they kept worshipping this king, or they made him into a god. Maybe this was also the name of the priesthood itself that kept the tradition since the Old Kingdom, 4th dynasty, this 2550 BC around, until the 26th dynasty and the Greco-Roman period, until 300 BC.
So it could even relate to a school of thought or a concept or something that this
As I told you,
priesthood
the
focused
official
on.
explanation is that the priesthood that lived in the time of the 4th dynasty and ran the pyramid complex, they stayed and they lived and they kept their tradition until 300 BC. This was the official
Yeah,
explanation.
we've seen
But
many tombs with the label Khufu in the name
yes,
of
of
the
course.
priest. Yes.
Yes, as Muhammad said, just right now, the statue in the Egyptian Museum is from the 26th dynasty.
Yes.
That's around how many years BC?
The 26th dynasty?
Yeah.
It's around maximum 500 BC.
Yeah, and actually, that's how we wanna like bring this into life. Lots of the symbols here and the writings only existed after the Middle Kingdom, and some of the other symbols only started in the New Kingdom. But there is the symbol that Muhammad was explaining, the R and the H. This one was more popular in the Greco-Roman time. So
or the late Egyptian times.
Yeah,
So we're
late
talking
Indian.
about a development of the language itself, like all languages change over time, words change, symbols change. So you're talking about a migration of the symbolism over time periods that you
Yeah.
can identify to certain
Exactly, to
dates.
certain.
Exactly.
We will not say change, we can say development or different use.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so as you say, as Yusuf said, we have some letters developed, okay, to a different style. But the clear evidence we found can give a specific date because some of those letters developed, some relating to the Middle Kingdom, some to the New Kingdom, okay, and still can be used during the late time. But that specific detail we found, this sign we can see on the screen.
The one that was over Tefnut.
Yes, exactly, from Komombo Temple. That Komombo, for people who don't know, that it is what we call it Greco-Roman building. It was built by the Egyptians, but during the Greco-Roman time in Egypt. So it has the influence maybe, or the language slightly maybe changed a little bit. So this symbol, it means with, and we have the original symbol from the Old Kingdom time, means Hina, is the original of this symbol. So this symbol is changed during the Greco-Roman time. So we can say now that the Gosford Glyphs written around the late kingdom, end of the late kingdom, beginning of the Greco-Roman time.
Like we can give it a timeline
Of about
In the range
500 BC.
about 500 BC. Exactly.
Now,
Maximum.
I'd like to ask, are there any other symbols that are from this, that you've noticed
From this
a
time?
certain timeline, yes?
No, this time, no, but we have other symbols dating back to
The Middle Kingdom.
the Middle
For
Kingdom.
example.
I'll show you. This is one of the symbols developed during the Middle Kingdom. If we look to the left side, the far left side, we can see this is letter M. It takes the shape of an owl. The owl from the Old Kingdom time. And by moving to the Middle Kingdom time, it became easier in writing and it changed it to that shape. Like half of rectangular maybe with an angle. Okay, so we understand that this kind of change happened during the Middle Kingdom time.
So we cannot by any way relate these writings to the Old Kingdom because these
Because
symbols
we found later.
yes,
course.
only appeared after the Middle Kingdom.
When we did the writings, it doesn't mean we did the connection. Because if we have the name Cheops or Khufu and Senefru, maybe it's not necessarily written in their time, as we tried to say. But also it could be maybe a kind of a hint for previous connection between Egypt and Australia. Maybe it happened during the time of Cheops and Senefru. That's why they put their names.
Yeah.
Maybe before, and Cheops and Senefru maybe used the place as mines because we found the name of Senefru and Cheops in several mines in Egypt and in Sudan, or north of Sudan. So they were famous with sending expeditions for mines, especially turquoise mines, okay, and in the western desert.
Yeah.
So I believe the connection was much, much older, but the writings only dating back to the 500 BC.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we believe, we actually talked about this man Muhammad before, and we believe that this was the end of it, not the beginning.
Right.
That it started
The
long
end of
time
the
ago.
connection.
And that's because we find lots of things in the two civilizations that's connected, and we will be showing this in the.
Well, this is one of the things that the original elder had spoken to Beatrice and I about. One of the stories she was told by the ancestors is that the survivor, she was told there was one survivor who stayed and was taken in or adopted by the local tribe, took a wife, and then made his life there in Australia. That was the story she shared. However, this story has been passed down. So.
The depictions that shows boomerangs here in Egypt, they go back to the Old Kingdom, and we got photos for this.
Oh, we see many connections that take
Yeah.
Egypt
Yeah.
and
The most
Australia
famous
connections
item
back.
Between
way back.
Egypt and Australia is the boomerang.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But there are many items that have been found in Australia that date much further back. So we're only looking at a small piece of evidence that
Yeah.
there was a connection between these two ancient civilizations.
That's true. We believe that this connection existed and it was strong. that it was not just one journey, and this is the documentation of it. No, there used to be many journeys, and we believe this could be one of the last, if not the last one. When this accident happened, probably the ships didn't return back, so that nobody bothered to send any more. And plus, if we did it right, around 500 BC,
What
then
dynasty
also,
is that?
this is 26 dynasty.
26 dynasty.
Yeah,
Starting from the 26th dynasty.
So this
Yeah.
is near the fall of Egypt.
exactly. So the civilization itself was
And
transformed.
also I want to explain this. When we say that this sign is Greek-Roman sign, it's not necessarily the beginning of the Greeks dynasties in Egypt, like the Ptolemaic, because the Greeks started to immigrate to Egypt and work in Egypt, especially as professional soldiers from the 26th dynasty. So the Greek influence in the north side of Egypt started with the 26th dynasty, but then the Greeks themselves invaded Egypt. So when we say Greek influence, so it makes sense when we talk about the 26, 27 till the end of the Egyptian civilization. Okay. Also, one of the pictures I'd like to explain about the title Khufu again, that there is one of the symbol here, like the chisel symbol or the mushroom symbol. This symbol means minkhet. It means friends. They are the friends of Khufu. So it could be again title, or the certain type of sailors or workers had used this title to name their group, and they call it Minkhet Khufu, friends of Khufu. Okay. So again, it's not a must to date the place to King Khufu or Snefer.
I see the spiral again. Is that the same?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is something we must mention that I found in some place, that the name Senefru was translated as Nefer Tiru. I found that somebody had made this.
The man who's talking about the Gosford is a hoax.
Yeah. They are using this picture, which is not correct. Okay? If we compare this, look, there is the Nefer, and this is T, and this is Ru. Okay? But our original picture here, if you look to the name Senefru, we have it S. Can you see it?
Mm-hmm.
But again, to this picture, it is T.
Oh, he shows the whole totally different symbol.
Okay, yeah, so the one who made the drawings made it wrong. Because in this symbol, in the wall itself, the picture from the Gosford, we can see S.
Yes.
So it is Senefru, the same way the ancient Egyptians used to write the name Senefru.
Yeah.
So I don't know how they made that word Nefertiru. And if we follow their drawings, Nefertiru doesn't make any sense. Okay? But if we follow the original picture, it is Senefru, which makes sense. And also here, it doesn't make sense to give the title Sara to Senefru and to give the title Nesubiti to Khufu. Sara means the son of the child of the sun, or the son of the sun.
They're two different labels.
Yeah,
or
and
names.
Nesubiti means king of Upper and Lower Egypt. The two titles supposed to be for one king.
Right.
But here, because the one who is writing, I think he is trying to mention the old connection between Egypt and Australia. And I believe there was maybe an earlier expedition done during the times of Senefru and
It
Cheops.
could have been many expeditions. So he's referring to earlier
Exactly.
expeditions, possibly.
Like, I would like to use something. It happened in the last 3 years. Like when the son of our former president Nasser visited some of the African countries. We may had long time to connect with them. We didn't connect with them for a long time. When they received him, they all remembered Nasser. Nasser died more than 45 years ago. Okay, but his memory returned back because of that visit. It was a kind of a public, what do you call it, unofficial visit. Some of the Egyptian famous people visited some of the African countries. So they all started to talk about Nasser and the actions of Nasser and what he did and how great he was. So I believe this was something similar like this. When the expedition went, they started to talk about Khufu, about Senefru, that they did something
expeditions.
here.
There were
yeah.
probably many
Mhm.
stories and legends, and yeah.
Of course.
So, is there anything else we want to add to the presentation?
Mhm. Yes, we would like to add some pictures and explain it. It is another kind of proof
Like
proving the
relevant
connection.
facts.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's relevant facts. The first picture we can see the different types of boomerang. We can see. When you
Is this
visit,
from Egypt or Australia?
Where were these found?
Yeah. When you visit the Egyptian museum, the section of Tutankhamun, you're going to see lots of different kinds of boomerang in size and in shape.
And you mean in the new museum?
In the old museum, and it's going to be in the new museum.
Because they've taken them out of the old museum.
I think the whole section now it is under renovation.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, but still exists. Okay, maybe we couldn't see it for a while, but we
They will
have
be in the new
pictures.
museum,
It will be in the
yeah.
new museum. So boomerang sticks. It's not just one or two or three, not just one style. It is different styles, and this is also depicted in the same sticks depicted in the Egyptian tombs, not from the time of Tutankhamun only. By the way, Tutankhamun, the 18th dynasty, New Kingdom, but also started from the tombs of Saqqara, the Old Kingdom time, 3rd, 4th, and 5th, and 6th dynasty. Like a picture like this.
Yeah.
Okay.
This one is showing hunting birds with boomerang.
You can see it on the necks, above the necks, above the
Yes,
wings.
this is in a tomb near the
Yes.
TT pyramid.
Mhm. Can you see it? So they show the action. Here also they show the owner of the tomb hunting birds.
With the boomerang.
Yeah, in the
Holding
marshes
it
of
in his
Delta,
hand.
you can see different type of boomerang. This is one of the tombs in Saqqara, and we can see the man is holding the boomerang with his right hand. Group of men holding boomerangs.
And
different
they're
size.
holding birds in their hands.
You see?
So you be positive that these are boomerangs for hunting birds. As the usual thing of the Egyptian civilization is that they used to go and blend with other civilizations
Oh, my
and they bring from their knowledge back
Yes.
and share, of course, some of their knowledge. But either way, there had to be a connection.
Yes.
We know that the Aborigines had boomerangs for thousands and
Of
thousands
course,
and thousands
yes.
of years. Yes.
But what we try to prove that there is a connection between both.
Absolutely.
The same thing. And you can see even the man is teaching his children how to use the boomerang. Also beside the boomerangs, we have another evidence. This one. If you look to this, you're gonna feel immediately this is ancient Egyptian writings. Okay, it is written in a decent way, very nice pictures. It makes sense when we read it, and it gives us a story. This is found where? It's found on the original door, on the right side of the original door of the Great Pyramid. People who will have the chance to visit the Great Pyramid, they look to the original door, not the opening we use right now, and it can be seen from in front of the pyramid. Okay, so it is, if you can see the red square, it is written in that location, and it is saying this. What does it say? Listen carefully. It says Jed Midu in, the same word we found in Gosford, Jed Midu, but without in. In means by. Those words said by. Okay, the king of Prussia.
Germany.
Exactly, Germany.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and die Anch, he will give life to Karl Lipsius, or Lipsius. I add Karl because his name is Karl Lipsius. Die Anch Lipsius. Who is Lipsius? Okay, so Karl Lipsius, the German Egyptologist, who came to Egypt around 1830, and he made lots of studies around Egypt and the Egyptian civilization. So Karl Lipsius wrote such hieroglyphics in a great talent, as you can see. If I show this to any person without giving him the information, he would think immediately this is ancient Egyptian writings done during the ancient Egyptian times. But the only thing can show us that this is done by Lipsius, the name of the German king, or the name of the place, Prussia, and the name Lipsius himself. But the rest, it doesn't show any modern information. Okay, so the same if we accuse the glyphs of Gosford to be a hoax, for what? Who made it? Here, Lipsius put his name to be commemorated forever. We will keep saying Carl Lipsius who made this. Okay? So the one who made Gosford Glyphs, aiming what? Aiming fame? There is no fame. His name wasn't mentioned in any place. Fortune, that is not his own land to sell it if the story will be famous. Okay? So we are asking about the target from doing this. What was the target? So that's why we are strongly believe, or we are very confident that this is ancient Egyptian writings.
Yeah, and plus that, beside the names he added for Borussia and his name and his king, everything else is copied from
Is an
ancient
exact
texts.
copy from an ancient
Exactly.
text.
Exactly.
Yes, exactly.
So he didn't like improvise. He didn't write this from his own mind, like what we see. We're seeing somebody who's writing something. He know it. He wants to write it. So he really knows the language.
It's like he
not
added
copy.
his name to a papyrus,
Exactly.
Yes,
basically.
We must have a source.
Yes.
And so far we can't make any similarity between Gosford Glyphs type of writings, okay, or the formula of the writings with any Egyptian source.
Yeah,
It doesn't match any Egyptian formula.
exactly.
Maybe just little words matching each other, but at the whole work, it doesn't match any work. But this one, it matches so many other pieces of work.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because, for example, if I'm gonna copy a statue or something like that, and I'm gonna write a funeral text, there is the most famous one, like Hatib di Misu, Hatib di Mpu, Hatib di Isu, Hatib di Uzir. Like everyone who studies hieroglyphs know this. So if this is the case, and I'm trying to put something, I'm gonna put the most famous formula. So everyone that knows hieroglyphics will see it, will recognize it.
Like one of the stories I heard was that it was a bunch of university students that were drinking and went up and did the glyphs. Well, obviously your presentation has already shown that that's not even a
Of course,
possibility.
it's not. It's not. And there is another story also, the possibility of it being a hoax or being a modern one, that soldiers were here in the Middle
Yes.
East and then they saw depictions here on the walls and then they copied what they remembered. And that's also...
Again, that's been
No,
shown
this is
not to
like-
be a possibility.
Like we didn't see this formula, as you said, Hatib di Misu,
Yeah.
Hatib di Mbu, okay, Neter'a, Neb Abidju. This is the very famous Egyptian funeral text. Okay, maybe the king will be happy or satisfied. Maybe Osiris will be satisfied. Osiris is the lord of the city Abidju. Okay, so we didn't see any of the Gosford sentences matching something like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
And still they tell a story.
And still tell a story.
They
With
tell a
sentences
story.
and words.
And it tells his
Yeah.
title, that he's a sailor, which
Yes.
makes sense.
Yes.
It tells about the boat.
his name and his title.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. And here the surprise we were hiding for. This is one of the pictures depicted in a wall. It was made out from mud brick. That wall or that tomb belonged to the beginning of the Egyptian history. The
Over
first
3,000, yeah.
according to the timeline, it could
Yeah.
be more ancient.
Yeah.
But according to the timeline, this is the first dynasty around 3200 BC. This was found in Al-Qom al-Ahmar from the time period we call it Makkada, north of Luxor, very close to Luxor. And it shows group of boats sailing in different directions maybe, but according to our studies that we could identify that this is the world map, as you can see it, and we identify that the light color, this is the continent, and the darker color, this is the water or sea. Okay, so people could identify that this is in the middle, this is Egypt. Okay, the different shape of the boat means Egypt, because maybe Egypt is the leader leading them somewhere from the beginning of history. Some people used to explain this as immigration from Atlanta or to Atlanta or something like this. They try to relate this with Atlantis,
Atlantis. Yes.
but we have no proof for this. Okay. So if we agree that the lower part is Africa, the north part is Europe, and this map is not giving the North and the South America to the left side. They make it to the right side, and both in a horizontal line, as you can see. Okay, and the surprise, in the far east southern side, we can see a small continent with someone holding a boomerang stick.
Fantastic.
And it's an island.
And it's an island, big island, which is Australia, according to our knowledge. So we think this is the first representation of Australia, or the oldest representation we have for Australia.
We still have half of this map, right, Mohammed?
In the Egyptian Museum, we have the half, the left half of this map. Unfortunately, I don't know what happened to the second right half. That's what I'm looking for.
Probably in Great Britain.
Maybe still in the tomb or in another place. But according to my knowledge, because I show people many times, I show them the first left half of this map. And easily.
Also, another thing that makes sense, the shape of all the civilizations here look like they had boats and everybody was traveling. And of course, to make a map, that means you traveled a lot so you can create a map.
Absolutely.
And nobody can Google it online back then.
How do you know they have horses in America?
The dark moon, which is relating to Egypt, looking exactly like the pre-dynastic boats. Exactly the same with the higher edge that's in the back, and the style of the pre-dynastic boats, which also like dates the map itself, again far away from the location. This type of boat is exactly the same like the ones depicted on the stones in Silsila and on other sites that like the ones in the Nubian Museum.
At the museum, yes.
Yeah. So with a map like this existing, showing that the ancient world was connected.
Speaks volumes.
You must know that working on such glyphs wasn't easy at all. And it took lots of nights and thinking and deeper looking and contacting Yusuf several times, and he was contacting me several times, because sometimes one symbol took lots of time to figure out the symbol. Not because the symbols are hard to understand, but because our knowledge is still not very good about the hieroglyphics. That's why we are promising you that in the near future we're going to have better understanding about the glyphs, and that's why it will help us to give you a complete picture. Maybe we gave you most of the picture in this lecture, and I'm happy that we managed to prove the authenticity of the glyphs by many evidences. But in the near future, as I promised you, we're going to give you the whole picture, and you're going to have very complete work for the Gosford Glyphs.
If we didn't fully translate it and prove the authenticity of these writings, but we at least opened the door for professionals all around the world to give this subject the real attention that it deserves. And also what will give us the positive about the whole situation is that if these writings are talking about a burial, that means the site is bigger and there has to be chambers or remnants of this tomb that they created. So the site of Gosford needs lots of archaeology work, maybe with the satellite and maybe on the field as well, so that it can be studied in the proper way.